10 minutes after the hour of 6 o'clock, it is a Monday morning, the 26th day of January. Looking at the calendar as we were getting started this morning, realizing that this is the last week of January 2026, at least according to our calendar. Okay, so, we have these calendars, and George has been giving us a lot of good information on calendars. And lot of stuff. You think that just because we have a calendar and we grew up with this, I don't know, what is it? Is it called the Gregorian calendar that we have or something like that? But there's other people have used other ways of trying to figure out the years. So don't think ours is the sacred calendar. Anyway, good morning, Ernie Padilla, already commenting off of our YouTube channel. We are live on 90.3 FM. We are also live on Facebook, LV Cornerstone, and live on YouTube, LV Cornerstone Church. And the plus there on the Facebook YouTube side is that you can see the Bible and some of the aids that we use right along with it as we go through our 1 hour program. So here's what we let you know as we get started. Number one is that we have a website, lvcornerstone.com, that'll assist you in finding those social media platforms. All you have to do is find the logos on the front page and then click on them, and it'll take you right there. There's a phone number for you there, 505-454-9527, which we don't answer during the program, and we usually don't answer it anyway. So, leave a message, please. If you call the number, if I don't recognize the number, if it's not part of my contacts, many times you need to leave a message. And then prayer and input line is at klyn903@gmail.com. And I wish more of you use that. Good morning, Kathleen. How you doing this morning? So if you're looking at the screen, you realize that we are in the last chapter of the book of Genesis, which we started and expected pretty much to finish on Friday's program. But then we started talking kind of about death. Verse 1, chapter 50. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to get that set up right away for us till we get into our weather report. Everything working okay. Looks like the sound is there. Looks like the video is there. I'm not getting any comments about it not working. Then Joseph fell on his father's face, wept over him and kissed him, and Joseph commanded the servants and the physicians to embalm his father. So at the end of the 49th chapter, we know that Jacob/Israel had breathed his last. He was with his sons, okay? Previous chapter, the 48th chapter, is when Jacob had prophesied over Joseph's two sons and adopted them spiritually into the inheritance, the spiritual inheritance, which was that was huge. We talk about inheritances. Right now we're looking at gold, the price of gold and the price of silver and the price of copper here in the United States. Well, not the United States, our world, the world markets that are out there. Gold and silver are flying right now. Okay. Let's take silver, for example, because that is where I am more, have watched it more over the years than the gold and the copper market. But we're talking about inheritance, okay? But I'm throwing this out here. Silver, for many years that I've been watching it, was up and down around the $30 mark. Sometimes it was, let's say a $5 swing between $27.50 and $32.50. And it always kind of was there. And there was some times it would spike. There were times that it would reverse. And if you bought some, you were hoping that one of these days something was going to happen. Well, something did happen right now. Silver Remember, let's say, and this is even a year or two, but let's say 10 years ago, 20 years ago, that silver was around the $30 mark, and you might have purchased some. You might have bought junk coins, you might have bought bullion, something or another that you have bought. Right now, it is 3 times the value plus. This morning, it was at $110. Figure $30 times 3 is 90, and now it's at 120. It's almost going to multiply 4 times for those people who had a lot of silver. So just to let you know, because we're talking here about inheritance. But Joseph realizes that there is a spiritual inheritance which is much more value than the price of silver, gold, copper, property, whatever it has. It is good to leave inheritance unto your children. The book of Proverbs talk. But can you leave, and will you leave, and are you leaving a spiritual inheritance for your children? And you know, it depends on where you're at in this whole thing. Your children might be more than those that just you and your wife birthed. There are spiritual sons, and the Bible in the New Testament even talks about it. But the inheritance, Jacob, son of Isaac, Isaac, son of Abraham. Abraham had received the promises of God, this exceeding great and precious promises of God, and it was a generational inheritance that went down to Isaac. You know, the Bible doesn't even tell us a lot about Isaac, not as much as Abraham and not as much as of Jacob. But the theme of it is that if we went to the 48th chapter, we see to where an inheritance had been brought in. The sons of Joseph, instead of just one portion coming into Joseph, 2 portions come into. You know, whenever your kids get something good, as a parent, you rejoice. When you see your parents, your sons and your daughters, as a parent, get something, you know, good spouse, good jobs, good future, good calling from the Lord, whatever. To you, that is even more valuable than getting it yourself. And Joseph brings his 2 sons in that 48th chapter, and Jacob blesses them, crosses his hands, all that stuff, and blesses them. What are we talking about this morning? We're talking about the inheritance. Now, the inheritance is falling upon the 12 sons of Jacob / Israel, who has just passed away. And we talked a lot about death from a biblical standpoint and trying to get some scriptures to get a little bit better understanding when you're at the mortuary, you're at the funeral. What's it all about, Elfie? What's it all about? Well, God has a plan and God has a purpose, and it's not everything that we think it is when it comes down, especially for a believer, especially and only for a believer. Then Joseph fell on his father's face, wept over him, and kissed him. And Joseph commanded his servants, the physicians, to embalm his father. So the physicians embalmed Israel. Imagine this man Joseph, who over the decades of his life had been in Canaan land, sold by his brothers, went to work in Potiphar's house. From there, he went to prison. From prison, he's pulled out and going into the palace. And the amount of favor that he has garnered, and we talked a lot about this, the amount of favor that he has garnered throughout the decades of his life. Not much in Canaan in the way of favor, except some dreams that God had showed him, and God has been good to this man, and the favor of God has been. What is the psalm? Is it a psalm that says, "Goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life"? That's a big one. That is a big one. And looking at Joseph's life, I tell you what, you look in the rearview mirror, Joseph. There they are, always there. Goodness and mercy are always just right there, waiting to find out how they can bless Joseph and the people that are around him. And imagine the amount of favor that he has. This guy has the ear of the most important governmental leader in the world, especially the biblical world at that time. It would be like if the President of the United States was personally texting you, calling you all the time, asking you for, and said, come and help. Then Joseph fell on his father's face, wept over him, and kissed him. And Joseph commanded his servants and the physicians to embalm his father. So the physicians embalmed Israel. And we're going to see, as you're going to see, that Joseph had favor not only with God, but he had favor with man. That's a big one. Psalm 23:6. Thank you, Jody. Goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life. And there's another one about favor. 40 days were required for him. Favor with God and favor with man. 40 days were required for him, for such are the days required for those who were embalmed, and the Egyptians mourned him for 70 days. My God, even the Egyptians. Now remember, Jacob didn't come into the scene till Joseph had been established as prime minister over Egypt for many years. Okay? But, how many years? How many years was he in Potiphar's house? How many years was he in prison? How many years until the dream came around and we have the 7 years of plenty, and then getting into the 7 years of lack? And that's when Jacob's sons show up in Egypt, not knowing that they're talking to their brother, the prime minister of Egypt. Favor with God and favor with man. So, 40 days were required for him. For such are the days required for those who were embalmed, and the Egyptians mourned him for 70 days. I would imagine that they had different numbers of days for mourning the dead. And 70 days probably was at the top of the list. Now, good morning, Leroy. Did you guys lose electricity? Let me see who's with us this morning. Did we lose electricity in Alabama? Let's see. Kathleen's with us. Jennifer's with us. Ernie's with us. Andreita is with us. Jeff, 17 degrees. It's 9 degrees here. Jeff, okay. An over translation in KJV verse 2. Okay. I'm not sure. The older Wycliffe says he commanded his servants that they should anoint his father with sweet-smelling spiceries. Leeches. I've heard about that one before. Marie Cook with us. Yolanda's with us. And you can be with us too. Well, you probably are with us if you're listening, but you can comment. Now, when the days of his mourning were past, Joseph spoke to the household of Pharaoh, saying, if now I have found favor in your eyes, he's not taking the favor for granted. The favor for man, I'm telling you, favor with God and favor with man. Now, the favor with man can be very tenuous. Favor with man, it can change. There's a lot of you know exactly what I'm talking about. It can come and it can go. But he doesn't take advantage of the favor. He's not demanding. If I have found favor in your eyes, please speak in the hearing of Pharaoh, saying, my father made me swear, saying, behold, I am dying. In my grave, which I dug for myself in the land of Canaan, there you shall bury me. Now, Joseph had the ear of Pharaoh. There was no doubt in my mind, but he calls some of the officials together and said, talk to Pharaoh for me. We're in the middle of mourning, not M-O-R-N, but M-O-U-R-N. And we are asking Pharaoh to allow us to go back and bury our father in the land where we came from. My father made me swear, verse 5, behold, I am dying in my grave, which I dug for myself in the land of Canaan. There you shall bury me now. Therefore, please let me go up and bury my father, and I will come back. This was important, not only in the eyes of the sons of Jacob, but it was important because this was part of the inheritance. Now, we'll be talking about the cave of Machpelah in just a few minutes, but we have to play a song first, and then we have to get out that weather report for our local people over here. Daniel Doss Band taking us there with his song, Just As I Am.
Just as I am without one plea, but that thy blood was shed for me, and that thou bidst me come to thee, O Lamb of God. I come. Just as I am, though tossed about with many a conflict, many a doubt, fightings and fears within, without, O Lamb of God, I come, I come. Yeah, you
30 minutes after the hour of 6 o'clock, cold weather advisory has been issued by the National Weather Service here in Las Vegas, New Mexico, and surrounding areas till 9 o'clock this morning. 8 degrees is the current temperature. It feels like -2 with a 6-mile-an-hour breeze blowing out of the west, looking for a high today of 42 degrees, sunny skies, northwest wind 5 to 15 miles per hour. Tuesday, mostly sunny, high near 51. Oh, baby. From where we been yesterday and day before to tomorrow's 51. North wind 5 to 10 miles per hour. And yeah, back to seasonable weather again in Wednesday. Mostly sunny, high near 55 degrees. And a southwest wind about 5 to 10 miles per hour. And looks like starting tomorrow, we'll be in the 50s for the rest of the week, all the way from 51 to 59 degrees. So weather's going to be pretty nice again. It got cold, though. It got cold. I mean, I think most of our listeners that are on Facebook and YouTube this morning knew what it was. Kathleen says it's 5 degrees in Wagon Mound. Okay. Probably Jeff and Leroy got a lot more weather scare than we did. I told you we were going to be on the western edge of that storm, and I didn't. Anyway, my father made me swear. Get back to it. Okay, let's avoid the eyes this morning. We love them eyes. I want to let you guys know. Keep me on track. My father made me swear, behold, I am dying in my grave, which I dug for myself in the land of Canaan. There you shall bury me. So Joseph is saying that Jacob had told him that he had dug a grave for himself in the land of Canaan. Same place where Abraham and his wife, Isaac and his wife, and where one of Jacob's wife was already buried in the cave of Machpelah. Okay, you remember the story. It goes way back to the time of Abraham when he purchased that property. Why there? Okay, one of these days somebody will find out for us, and we'll let you know what the spiritual significance is to the cave of Machpelah. But Jacob/Israel wants to make sure that Joseph and the sons knew that's where he wanted to be buried. Now, therefore, why there? Why there? Now, therefore, please let me go up and bury my father, and I will come back. Pharaoh said, go up and bury your father as he made you swear. So Joseph went up to bury his father, and with him went up all the servants of Pharaoh, the elders of his house, and all the elders of the land of Egypt, as well as all the house of Joseph. So just about the time that you read verse 7, it says, yeah, he sent a few, fair, make sure that they're going to come back. Not like that was a big deal, because I bet you the drought was still, that the 7 years hadn't finished yet. But watch this. Joseph went up to bury his father. With him went up all the servants of Pharaoh and the elders of his house, not Joseph's house, but the Pharaoh's house. The elders of Pharaoh's house went up with him, and all the elders of the land of Egypt. I mean, you got not only the senators, Supreme Court justices, congressmen. I mean, you got all the representatives. You got them all going up. What do they call those guys that sit? Secretary of State and the Secretary of Defense. The whole bunch of them are going up. Pharaoh says, you guys go down there. I'll take care of business till you get back. Okay? Because this as well, verse 8, as well as all the house of Joseph. Okay? Joe Gentry, I'm the same way. All of a sudden I'm saying, well, why this cave? What was the significance of this physical place? And why did Jacob, along with Isaac and Abraham and their wives, have to be built? What was them all being together? Resurrection, dead in Christ shall rise first when Jesus, and we even talked about this on Friday, when the graves were open, as well as maybe when the graves are open, as well as all the house of Joseph, his brothers and his father's house, only their little ones, their flocks and their herds they left in the land of Goshen. So we have verse 9, let's finish. And there went up with him both chariots and horsemen, and it was a very great gathering. Could we say that was probably in the hundreds? Then they came to the threshing floor of Atad, which is beyond the Jordan, and they mourned there with a great and very solemn lamentation. He observed 7 days of mourning for his father. Now, we've had up to 70 days in Egypt, but when they come into the land of Canaan, all right, they observed 7 days of mourning for his father. And let me tell you what, ladies and gentlemen, these Middle Eastern people know how to lament. I mean, if you've ever heard the crying and the wailing, when Jesus walked into that house one time and all the wailers were there, they knew how to mourn. They knew how to lament. And when the inhabitants of the land, the Canaanites, okay, so we know where they are at when you're talking about beyond the Jordan. Are you talking about the east side? Or you're talking about the west side? You're talking about the west side because that's where Canaan is, and on the west side. 15 degrees in Spania. You guys are warming up. When the inhabitants of the land, the Canaanites, saw the mourning at the threshing floor of Atad, they said, "This is a deep mourning of the Egyptians." So the Canaanites don't want to mess with the Egyptians. Okay? I'm guessing that there was a lot of guards that came up with Joseph and his brothers. Helicopters, some tanks maybe or something like that. When the inhabitants of the land, the Canaanites, saw the mourning at the threshing floor of Atad, they said, "This is the deep mourning of the Egyptians." Therefore, its name was called Abel Mizraim, which is beyond the Jordan. So, the Canaanites hear the lamentation that is coming from this group out of Egypt, not really understanding why, but I think they will. So his sons did for him just as he had commanded him. Talking about Jacob, Jacob's sons did for him just as he had commanded them. For his sons carried him to the land of Canaan and buried him in the cave of the field of Machpelah before Mamre, which Abraham bought with the field from Ephron the Hittite as property for a burial place. This had been taken care of 2 generations ago by Abraham himself. Buried his wife there. Isaac and his wife were buried there. Jacob's wife Leah was already buried in the cave of Machpelah. And now it's Jacob's turn, whose body has been embalmed weeks ago in Egypt. So we're seeing the closing of another circle, ladies and gentlemen. We talk about the circles. We talk about God's plan. And he's got small circles. He's got bigger circles. And then he's got this one last huge circle from the time that Adam and Eve sinned in the garden until he comes to restore all things and make all things new. The fulfillment of the death, resurrection of Christ Jesus. An accomplishment. In fact, I don't know if you've heard much about the Mel Gibson movie that he is making about the resurrection of Jesus. That might be a good one because we sure like the first. Here in Las Vegas, we sure like the first one years ago. I think we bought out the local theater for Passion of the Christ and invited everybody in. For his sons carried him to the land of Canaan and buried him in the cave of the field of Machpelah before Mamre, which Abraham bought with the field from Ephron the Hittite as property for a burial place. Leroy says this place was a down payment of the promise. I'm wondering if this place is close to Jerusalem, and when the graves were opened, the cave was opened, and these people walked the streets of Jerusalem after the resurrection of Jesus. After he had buried his father, Joseph returned to Egypt, he and his brothers, and all who went up to bury his father. So they've gone out to the cave. They've done their time of mourning. Canaanites see what's going on. Don't mess with these guys. Okay, they're Egyptians. And now everybody's back. And Joseph's brothers are going back to Goshen in Egypt, and all of the officials and entourage of the Egyptians go back to their day job. Now, verse 15. The place was a down payment on the promise. Leroy, now you got me thinking. When Joseph's brothers saw that their father was dead, they said, perhaps Joseph will hate us and may actually repay us for all the evil which we did to him. Notice what is still going on in the minds of Joseph's brothers. Okay? First of all, their plan was to kill him in the pit. Leave him there, let him die, and then I don't know if it was Reuben, it was the other ones. I think it was Judah that said, hey, there's some Amalekites, sell them to the Amalekites, or Ishmaelites. Sell them to the Ishmaelites, let's make some money off of this deal. Okay? Not realizing that God had a plan. Now, they're still in the back of their mind waiting for the hammer to fall. They're still thinking, well, this Joseph guy, he's going to repay us for the bad we did sooner or later. When Joseph's brothers saw their father was dead, they said, perhaps Joseph will hate us and may actually repay us for all the evil which we did to him. So they sent messengers to Joseph, saying, before your father died, he commanded, saying, thus you shall say to Joseph, I beg you, please forgive the trespass of your brothers and their sin, for they did evil to you. Now, is this something actually that Jacob said? Or is this something that the brothers are contriving on their own to try to push him emotionally? And really, they don't even know where he is emotionally. Okay? Thus you shall say to Joseph, I beg you, please forgive the trespass of your brothers and their sin, for they did evil to you. Now please forgive the trespass of the servants of the God of your father. And Joseph wept when they spoke to him. You go tell him. No, you go tell him. No, well, let's send messengers. Let's write a nice little letter, a nice little note, and because you know what, now that Dad's gone, he might wanna exact revenge upon us. And Joseph wept when they spoke to him. Joseph said, oh my God, I thought we were beyond this, boys. I thought we were beyond this. Then his brothers also went and fell down before his face. And they said, behold, we are your servants. You mean the sheaves are bowing down to Joseph's sheaf again? How many times have we seen this happen? Then his brothers went down, fell, behold, we are your servants. Joseph said to them, do not be afraid, for am I in the place of God? I mean, this man holding the line, holding the kingdom line. And here's a verse that I have been alluding to, and some of you guys have been bringing it up on the comment section. Thank you very much for a couple of weeks now. Verse 20 says, and I love this one, but as for you, you meant evil against me, but God meant it for good, in order to bring it about as it is this day, to save many people alive. I'm going to remind you, brothers, the purpose of God. Don't you realize, don't you see really the big picture of what God is doing? Don't you see the circle that God is closing? Now, therefore, do not be afraid. And there's a lot more to this circle, because they're going to be there for hundreds of years. They had a chance to say, well, I don't know if the 7 years of famine were finished or not, as we talked about earlier, when they went up to Canaan land. They didn't stay. They came back. And when they come back, still, trying to, with their back up against the wall. What if he stabs us in the back now? What if he gets revenge? But as for you, you meant evil against me. Hey, I understand. Here's the real picture. Here's the big story. You meant evil against me, but God meant it for good, in order to bring it about as it is this day, to save many people alive. Now, therefore, do not be afraid. I will provide for you and your little ones. And he comforted them and spoke kindly to them. Wow. Wow, just about the time that they're ready to. So Joseph dwelt in Egypt. Do you think they put this thing to bed once and all in the minds of Reuben and Simeon and Levi and Judah? And do you think they put it to bed or not? Maybe now they know that everything's okay. But if they don't, Joseph dwelt in Egypt. Verse 22, he and his father's household, and Joseph lived 110 years. Notice how people are dying earlier. I think, was it Jacob that lived 130 years and Isaac lived 180 some years or something like that? And it's going down. It's going down. I mean, if somebody lives 110 years old, 10 years today, we just say, whoa, Joseph dwelt in Egypt. He and his father's household. Joseph lived 110 years. Joseph saw Ephraim's children to the third generation. Okay, so he saw his grandchildren. Would that be his first generation? Would have been, no, great-grandchildren. Way to go, Joseph. I see them on vids. That's my great-grandchildren. I haven't really been able to. They're over there in southern Arizona. Joseph saw Ephraim's children to the third generation. The son of Machir, the son of Manasseh, were also brought up on Joseph's knees. So, I mean, he's seen his children. He's seen the grandchildren, and he's seen the great-grandchildren. They were brought up on Joseph's knees, so he was there with them. Oh, and Joseph said to his brothers, these are Ephraim's and Manasseh's sons and grandsons. Joseph said to his brethren, I am dying, but God will surely visit you and bring you out of this land to a land which he swore to Abraham, to Isaac, and Jacob. This guy knows what, this guy was privy of what God was doing. Verse 20, he says, you meant it for evil, God meant it to good. He's saving many. What did he say? That for the salvation, to save many people alive. So Joseph dwelt in Egypt, he and his father's household. And Joseph lived 110 years. Joseph saw Ephraim's children, and Joseph said to his brethren, I am dying, verse 24, but God will surely visit you and bring you out of this land to the land of which he swore to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob. We're going to be in the book of, what's the name of the next book that we're at? Exodus. Joseph knew about the Exodus before everybody else did. Joseph saw Ephraim's children to the third generation. Joseph said to his brethren, I'm dying, but God will surely visit you, bring you out of this land to the land of which he swore to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob. Then Jacob took an oath from the children of Israel, saying, God will surely visit you, and you shall carry up my bones from here. So Joseph died, being 110 years old. They embalmed him, and he was put in a coffin in Egypt. So the fortunes, if you want to use that word or not, the fortunes of Joseph in his earthly life finishes at the end of the book of Genesis. So starting in September sometime, we went through verse 1:1, and here we are toward the end of January, and we're finishing off the book of Genesis with the death of Joseph, and now getting into the beginning of the book of Exodus. Okay. So these are the names. Let's just go to Exodus 1:1. We got enough time to go through a few verses, probably about 15 minutes of teaching time that we might have to get into the, let's see, I better put this there. We don't want to go to a 7-minute song, that's for sure. Now, these are the names of the children of Israel who came to Egypt. And what was the total number? What's the total number that we're looking at? Okay? Everybody knows? Now, these are the names of the children of Israel who came to Egypt. Each man and his household came with Jacob. Reuben, Jacob didn't want to go either, but finally, Reuben, Simeon, Levi, Judah, Issachar, Zebulun, Benjamin, Dan, Naphtali, Gad, and Asher. All these were the descendants of Jacob. All those who were the descendants of Jacob were 70 persons, for Joseph was in Egypt already. Joseph died, all his brothers, and all that generation. But the children of Israel were fruitful and increased abundantly, multiplied and grew exceedingly mighty, and the land was filled with them. So they're taking God's advice to be fruitful and to multiply, and that's what it's talking about. They were fruitful and they multiplied in the land of Goshen. So we started off with 70. We come up to the first chapter of the book of Exodus. It's not 70 anymore. Okay? The children of Israel were fruitful, increased abundantly, multiplied and grew exceedingly mighty, and the land was filled with them. Now, here is when the fortunes of Israel changes. Verse 8, chapter 1. Now, there arose a new king over Egypt who did not know Joseph. Okay, somebody lost the elections, okay? They didn't have elections. I know, this is different. This wasn't governmental as we knew it, but kind of get the idea. There arose a new king over Egypt who did not Joseph. I would imagine this took a while, but it happens all the time. Not only that, we have these families of Joseph that are over there in Goshen, which is in a great part of the country, and they're prospering, and they're multiplying, and they're increasing abundantly. And there arose a new king over Egypt who did not know Joseph. Now you understand the fortunes of what's going on here. What is happening here? What's happening here is that the, let's call it for what it is, the persecution is going to start on the sons of Abraham. And always there's a purpose, and God is doing something in the midst of it. But they had a certain amount of time, could have been 100 years or so, that they had favor with Pharaoh, but now we have a new Pharaoh. How are you going to act? How are you going to act in the good, and how are you going to act in the not so good? Always a good question to throw out there.
There is a fountain filled with blood drawn from Emmanuel's veins, and sinners plunged beneath that flood lose all their guilty stains, lose all their guilty stains, lose all their guilty stains, and sinners plunged beneath that flood lose all their guilty stains. The dying thief rejoiced to see that fountain in his day, and there may I, though while as he wash all my sins away, wash all my sins
Well, good morning, Las Vegas. You are listening to KLYN 90.3 FM, Monday morning, 26th day of January. Mark Sides, your host here on the early morning program. And good morning to our listeners slash watchers on Facebook, LV Cornerstone, and YouTube, LV Cornerstone Church. 8 degrees is our current temperature. Feels like -5. With a 9-mile-an-hour breeze blowing out of the south-southwest. Humidity is currently at 63%, and we have a cold weather advisory issued by the National Weather Service for another couple of hours here in Las Vegas, around 9 o'clock or so. I guess is when it's going to start warming up a little bit for us. So we already have transferred, translated, transmuted over to Exodus chapter 1 this morning, as you can notice. Okay, there's your prayer and input information. KLYN903 at gmail.com is how you can get a hold of us. So let's take these off and let's get going. Now, there arose a new king over Egypt who did not know Joseph. So, and we talked about this before. Some people, when there's when the blessings are flowing, what we consider as blessings in our in our world, when the blessings are there and the blessings are flowing, some people they get into the flesh right away, and then other people, when the hard times come, they can. Last night, Eileen and I were watching a movie about a man who was in the a Jewish man who had been oppressed during World War II in Germany. Very interesting stuff. And how people, a lot of it, how people were taking it. It wasn't easy, not even close to being easy at all. But I thought it was a good movie. I don't remember the name of it right now. Maybe Eileen will tell me what it was. You might want to watch it. Now, there arose a new king over Egypt who did not know Joseph. Fortunes are changing, ladies and gentlemen. When fortunes change, your God does not change. When fortunes change, you still have exceedingly great and precious promises. It might be a whole different list of promises, but you still have exceedingly great and precious promises that by them you might be partakers of the divine nature. We have a new king. We have a new Pharaoh. He said to his people, look, the people of the children of Israel are more and mightier than we. Come, let us deal shrewdly with them, lest they multiply, and it happen in the event of war that they also join our enemies, fight against us, and so go up out of the land. Well, we have an agenda now. What happens if these people turn their back on us? What happens if our enemy shows up on the borders and these people align themselves with they're too big for us as it is already? Let's deal shrewdly with them. I bet you that's an interesting word. Let's see. Let's go to the Amplified first. Deal shrewdly. Shrewdly as it is. Message I'm almost sure is not going to have. We've got to do something. Let's devise a plan to contain them. Okay? Let's look at the word in the King James Bible. It says, let us deal wisely with them, not shrewdly. Okay? And if we went to that word itself, let's see, Strong's Dictionary tells us to be wise in mind, word, or act, teach wisdom. Okay? New American Standard, chakam is the word, to be wise, acting wisely. Okay, so that's what the Pharaoh is telling the people. Let's act wisely, but some of our other English translations, shrewdly with them. I think they like that a little bit better. Come, let us deal shrewdly with them, lest they multiply, and it happen in the event of war that they also join our enemies, fight against us, and so go up out of the land. Therefore, they set taskmasters over them to afflict them with their burdens. Now, this is the portion of the occupation of Egypt. Occupation, the right word, maybe not. But when the Hebrews, the sons of Abraham, were in Egypt, now we're getting into more of the story that we're familiar with. Okay? The blessing part, the favor part with man, we learned about, but it's not something that most of the time when you think of the Hebrews in Egypt, you think of this part here. The favor of man has melted away, but the favor of God has not. Therefore, they set taskmasters over them to afflict them with their burdens, and they built for Pharaoh supply cities, Pithom and Ramses. But the more they afflicted them, the more they multiplied and grew. And they were in dread of the children of Israel. Notice that. The more they afflicted them, the more they multiplied and grew. Look at persecuted populations in the world. Not just historically, but look at it contemporary, what is happening in persecuted church people groups in the world. You can look at Iran and China, especially China, because China has been going through this for a long time. The Chinese Christian has been going through this for a long, long time. And there's a lot of persecution. There's persecution going on all over the world. More than who was it that was saying? Was it a church yesterday? Somebody was saying, or was it Eileen that was telling me about a pastor in Venezuela that was thanking the Americans for what they did, because many pastors in Venezuela had been arrested and thrown into prison. And then when Maduro was taken out by the United States Army, is that these pastors were let out of prison. So, you think this doesn't happen in and around. It's probably even happening a lot closer than you think it is. Therefore, they set taskmasters over them to afflict them with their burdens, and they built for Pharaoh supply cities, Pithom and Ramses. We're talking about favor with God, even when the favor of man isn't there. What did you do for me yesterday is but the more they afflicted them, the more they multiplied and grew. And they were in dread of the children of Israel. This is exactly happens. This is the the blood. What does it says? The blood of the martyrs is the seedbed of the church. So the Egyptians made the children of Israel serve with rigor, and they made their lives bitter with hard bondage in mortar, in brick, and all manner of service in the field, and all their service in which they made them serve was with rigor. So we understand, we've looked at this many times, in different movies. Then the king of Egypt spoke to the Hebrew midwives. And this is kind of where we're going to cut it off this morning, because this is where we start another story, which is just for me another circle. Okay. Then the king of Egypt spoke to the Hebrew midwives, of whom the name of one was Shiphrah and the name of the other Puah. And he said, when you do the duties of a midwife for the Hebrew women, see to them on the birth stools. If it is son, you shall kill him. I think many of you know where this story's going. A lot more familiar with most people, even the casual reader of the Bible. Anyway, that's it for today. We will be back. Let me put that one on tomorrow, Lord willing, at 10 minutes after the hour of 6 o'clock, continuing this story. Now that we're in a new book, somebody put on the calendar. This is the first day of Exodus, Monday, January the 26th.
Hay alboroto en las calles, es que algo ha pasado. Veo a los hombres corriendo y a muchos gritando. Padres que buscan sus hijos muy desesperados. Parece que aquello que un día se anunció ha pasado. Yo no me encuentro en la tierra, estoy separado. Y siento que todo mi cuerpo y mi ser han cambiado. Y en este lugar en que estoy, yo voy